We especially appreciate it when folks are coming out and they're willing to take their time to be here. And when they have to shovel the car and scrape the stuff off of the car. I walked out of the hotel this morning and there was snow everywhere, and I just stood there thinking, this is wrong. And I thought, this is really, really wrong. When I went to bed, there was not white stuff everywhere, and it was only 3 hours ago, so how could this be happening, you know? And I thought, surely I got up in the wrong place. I have to be in Marion, Illinois tonight. My hope is that it will be slightly warmer there, and I'll leave this for you, okay? And I hope you enjoy it. I truly do. Is it warmer? Yeah. Lots warmer? I will be following you down 57. I will be passing you, okay? I know this about myself. I am Mandy Waggoner. I've been with Project Choices for about 15, 16 years now, counting all the time that Choices worked with my school to help my son become included and actually become and maintain his status as a member of his class. And my son has very profound autism. Shane is 24, and the technical term would be big ol' honkin' autism, because it's like big honkin' autism. You know, it's not little autism, it's pretty big. I have 2 grandchildren, a grandson and a granddaughter who both have autism, and I have a 5-year-old granddaughter with severe apraxia. We have lots of stuff going on in the house all the time, so it's a pretty busy place. What I have found is that if I didn't be very, very careful in communicating with my children and communicating with the people that were going to impact my children's lives, I started having some really bad results because I wasn't telling them what I thought I was telling them. The biggest thing you need to remember today is that no matter how you're communicating, whatever language you happen to communicate in, it's a receiver phenomenon. What I'm saying doesn't mean that much if it's not really what you're hearing. If I'm not giving it to you in a way that you can use it, in a way that you can take something from it, and in a way that makes you want to take something from it, and that's probably the key part, you have to want to take something away from it, then I haven't done my job and I haven't given you anything that you can take back and use. What I understand is that you guys work together on behavior teams and teams to support students and teachers in the schools that house the kids that you work with. And the concept that we're going to talk about today is that of coaching. And what I want you to remember as we go through the day is that on any team, there's not just one coach. There might be one person identified as a building coach, a district level coach, classroom coach. There might be various types of coaches, and we'll talk about that quite a bit today. But the skills that we're talking about embedding in our way of functioning are coaching skills, and we want every one of us to use those, okay? A little bit of housekeeping. There's candy on the tables, there's fidgets on the tables. If you need extra candy, Mandy has candy. It's up here. She will take care of you. If you have any blood sugar issues, sugar-free is up here. Please don't hurt yourself by getting tempted with what's in front of you. I will help you out with this, okay? We don't want any diabetics having issues today. So please be aware that it's up here if you need that kind of snack. Now the first thing we're going to do is you've probably done activities like this before, but we're going to do a quick personality sort. And we're going to do that by talking about some different shapes, okay? And this is just called the shape that you're in. How many of you have done inventories that were like colors and personality inventories that said, are you a fluffy person? Are you that kind of person? We're going to do it again, okay? So we have to do this again today. Just flip your handout over, please. And on the back of your handout, maybe a little bit large, so that you can draw another shape inside it. I want you to pick one of these 5 shapes, and I want you to draw it. And I want it to be the shape that resonates with you. When you say, boy, this shape just sounds good, it sounds fun, this is the one I want to be, I want you to draw that shape. And you're either going to draw a circle or a square, a triangle, a rectangle, or a squiggle. All right? Inside that shape, this is why I wanted you to draw it kind of big, I want you to draw your second favorite shape. No right way, no wrong way. Just take, and use your gut. Don't think about this. Don't overthink it. Just what feels good, what tastes good to your brain. Okay. Everybody got their shapes? Okay, what I'd like you to do is on the back of your handout, think of these 5 shapes: circle, square, rectangle, triangle, squiggle. I've done this a few times and I still can't remember the shapes. Draw it kind of big, and the biggest shape is the one that you really feel like you are. It's the one that kind of makes your brain feel like, yeah, that's me, that's good, that tastes good. Inside it is the second favorite shape. if you're one of these people that needs two shapes. If you don't, you don't. That's okay. Don't make yourself come up with one if you don't need one. All good? Okay. How about my circles? I think I'm with my circle people. Where are my circle people? Okay, look at all you guys. Okay, well this is kind of what's happening with circles. These are the folks, I know you're having a bad day. Let me help. I'm gonna take my problems home. I'm gonna take this home and I'm gonna drag through the door and I'm gonna go, I just don't know how to make it better. I gotta make it better. It's not good. I gotta make it better. I gotta fix this, They don't get stuck in a corner, they land on their feet, they talk with their hands. These people got smiley faces and stickers all over. They might have smiley faces with the upside down mouths sometimes, okay? But they communicate with these, they like this stuff. They're problem solvers, they're good listeners, they're good communicators. They use words out loud to solve problems. So a person who's a circle, you might look at them sometimes and go, but you've said that to me, like 12 times now, and I heard you. But see, they're thinking it through. That's how they're just getting it through into their heads. Okay, how about squares? How many people had squares their favorite shape? How many people had squares your second favorite shape? The lone stranger back here. Bless your heart. The square is task-oriented, logical, organized. These people could write the manuals. They'll look at the manuals and they'll go, but that's not good. I could do it better. So I'll write the manual for you. They don't gossip, they like forms. Because is that it? You like to create the forms? Pay attention to the people on your team that have the shape characteristics that you like. I avoid forms like the bubonic plague. Okay, so if she was on my team, I'd want to know who she was. They're hard to change. Sorry about that. They're pretty conservative. They like memos. And they're kind of like, is the meeting done? I have work to do. I don't need this. And she's back there going, God, that's me. Okay, how about triangles? First or second shape for triangles? We got bunches of triangles. I can't get to the door from here. In a room with this many triangles, I want to be able to get to the door, and I can't. There's lots of leadership potential with triangles, but see, here's the problem with the triangle. Are you with me? Ready, fire, aim. Maybe the sequence gets a little off with triangles. Okay, they lead with speed. They're there, If you can't make a decision, I'll make it for you. I'll make it a good one, and you'll think you did good, but I'll take care of it. They win the arguments that are public arguments because they're not afraid of it. Okay? That point on that triangle will hone in on you, and they will win. Okay? They love to hear other people's opinions so they can influence them. Okay? That's not a bad thing. They're great leaders, and they get out there and they move and they do, but understand that about them. Okay? How about rectangles? Any rectangles, first or second shape? This is kind of a good thing. Rectangles fall on one side of the rectangle or the other. They can be great team players. They check things out. They can deal with a written structure, but they can be pretty flexible. They can be really, really cooperative, or if they're going through a severe change or a transition in their life, they're going to ask a lot of who, what, where questions, and they mean them, and you better have an answer for them, or they're going to get chapped. And the whole team's going to have an issue until you have an answer for that question. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that you kind of need to know about people who identify them with this. If they're going through a bad patch in their life, they can be pretty unpredictable. Now, what about the last shape? How many squiggles do we have, first or second shape? I don't have to be by the door. I'm in a good place. This is all right. Squiggles hate routine tasks. They're experimental, motivational free spirits. Fake it till you make it. If a squiggle is having a really, really bad day and they don't know what they're doing and they're not sure they're in the right hotel room and they're not really sure they've got the right handout and the stuff isn't working, you might not ever know it because they're just going to get up there and just roll right through, They're inventive. They're kind of misunderstood. I might have put that part in. They like a lot of high energy things. They hate forms. I might have put that part in too. And there's only about 10% of society that's a squiggle, so think of this room. We see a lot of people in teaching positions that combine things like triangles and squiggles, squares and squiggles, because they have this tremendous need for organization, and then they have this terrible need to be creative and to teach children. And they teach the most difficult children. How many squiggles again were in this room? Look at you guys, man, you rock. You can do anything. This room could do anything. Now here's what happens when you take all these people and you mix them together. If you have to work with these people, this is what you can expect. Squares are going to bring the agenda. It's going to be typed. 1 week before the meeting, they'll email it out. Send me back a response. I want to know you got it. You didn't respond, I will find you. Okay? You will respond. The triangle says, I already did it. Let's do it. Let's do it again. Because the triangle's out there having a good time. The rectangles are saying, you know, we'll think about it and I'll get back to you. Because I don't know if I want to come to the meeting. And I don't care about your agenda. You know? I'll talk to you later. The circles are saying, I'll bring brownies. It's good. I'll take care of you. Okay? The squiggles have lampshades on their heads when they show up. They got toys. You'll notice there are toys on the table. But a lot of the ideas that they give you, you have to stop and say, okay, Mandy, that's a really cool idea. But you know, they have legal statutes sometimes. You know, so we don't want to get in trouble. So let's stop and think about this. Squiggles are going to bring the fun to your party, and they're going to bring the fun to your classroom, but you got to watch us. Okay, I even admit that, and I'm a them. I don't even have a second shape. I'm like an uber squiggle. I mean, that's all I am. Now, let me tell you something about a squiggle, too. And this may not apply to you guys, but it does apply to many squiggles, and I'm telling you these things for a purpose, okay? This is a fun activity to do, but there's a lot of hard meaning in here. I am the uber squiggle. If something needs to be done by Friday, please tell me it's due the Monday before. Wednesday, I'll remember I really need to do it. Thursday, I'll work my tail off and I won't sleep that night and it'll be great Friday morning. But really, tell me it's due Monday. Seriously. Okay, I worked with a person who is the ultimate organizational person. And I really think she went on antidepressants because she never told me that, you know. But I think she needed medication to get through working with me because I can get it all done and it'll be great, but God knows when you'll get it. So just tell me ahead of time that you need it. Don't hate the squiggle for being that way. The triangle's going to move fast. They're going to make you crazy. You're going to want to tell the circle, please, leave it alone. Just bring the brownies and I'll decide if I want to eat them. The rectangle, you're going to want to say, look, I know you're having a bad day. Could you have it at home? Okay? Please. And the square, you're going to say, I know where that agenda belongs. Let me help you. Okay? You have to know all these things when you work with people. If you haven't taken the time to do this type of activity on your teams, it doesn't have to be this one, there's a million out there. Please take the time to do it. Okay? It's lots of fun. But you find out things about people that you don't know. And people that are sitting there going, yeah, man, I do type my sticky notes. Wow, you know? I didn't want anybody to know that, but I type my sticky notes, you know? They got lines on them. Why would a sticky note need lines? Okay, but they got them with lines on them for the squares out there because they need them. People like me can't find the sticky notes. I've drawn the wallpaper. It works for me, you know? So, Having gone through that, we know that this is going to be a challenge. We know that we have to work with people on the team. Now, the challenge for people like you on teams that deal with children is going back into those schools and working with the teams that are intact in the school, which have all these personalities on them too. And you may not know that. You have to watch for indicators of these personality types, find the best way to slide into their level of functioning. My Vanna, our remote control is not working. The first thing that you have to do in this kind of activity is a good way to kick it off is to think about building trust and rapport. The most important thing that you will ever do is to start thinking about how relationships are fostered, how they're grown. They don't naturally occur. My best friend and I have been best friends for 39 and a half years. At various points in 39 and a half years, we've tried to kill each other. You know, seriously, if we could have found, if I'd had a basement instead of a crawl space, she'd have gone down. You know, I mean, I love her, but it takes a long time to create those kinds of relationships and then keep them. It's about everything in that relationship, not just part of it. If I'm not comfortable with you walking up to you in the grocery store, I'm not going to be a good team member with you. I have to be comfortable on all levels. Rapport is comfort and confidence during an interaction. Okay? Trust is global. Rapport is episode specific. All right? It's about the moment. Characteristics of trust are, I know that I can tell Carol absolutely anything. She's going to maintain confidentiality. People on your team, you have to have trust, not rapport, trust that they're going to maintain confidentiality about every single detail you give them about a child. You have to feel that about the teachers that you work with as well. You have to know that what you tell them isn't going to go into the teacher's lounge. That's really hard sometimes. How many of you have had episodes like that or situations where you've given some information to somebody and then you've heard it come back to you later? Have you had that happen? That's hard to come back from, isn't it? You know, that can take years. It can permanently damage relationships. It can destroy relationships. Well, who's going to suffer if we hurt those working relationships? Most of them are kind of short. Even if they're taller than us, they're still short people, right? They're the people that need us. You have to be consistent. You have to keep your commitments. If you say you're going to do it by Friday, do it by Friday. Reveal your feelings. You don't have to spill your guts about everything that's happening, but you have to be open and honest about your emotional reactions. Express personal interest in other people. I don't have to like sports to know that several of my teammates live and die on the fate of the Illini. Okay? Seriously. And I've got a teammate that she ain't right. I mean, she's a golfer, you know, and seriously, she ain't right. She's a golfer and she's a football fan, and I'm not sure how those two things got together, but I don't want to be around her if she's had a bad day on the course. I mean, she's mean. You know, so you want to watch that. And if the Packers lose, I'm not going to her place because it's not worth it. Okay, if the Bears lose, it's worse. I'm not going there either.
This year, if the Vikings lose.
Oh God, she's mean. Yeah, we have a microcosm. Any team is the world in small. So you have all these personalities. I don't like sports. I don't care about them at all. But I know it's very, very important to her. So I've made it my business to learn just a little bit so I can have a marginally intelligent conversation with her, you know? So she knows I care, because I honestly do care about what happens to her and what matters to her. Admit your mistakes. Now, I screw up about 15 times a day. 13 of those I'm probably going to know. A couple of them, feel free to write me a note, okay, because I might miss them. I'll tell you when I know I do it, and I'll accept it when you tell me when I don't know. Listen reflectively. We're going to talk about that. But how many times are you sitting there in those meetings and somebody's talking to you and you're jotting notes about what you're going to say, how you're going to respond? You've got this whole script going on. That's not trust. I can't trust you if I know that's what you're doing. Reflective listening. You have to listen to me so that you can hear me, so that I can know that I've given you the information I needed you to get. If you're sitting there planning your response, you've missed half of what I had to say. You have to know your stuff. Now, how many of you in here have worked with people that you walked away knowing they didn't have the skills to use the information you gave them? Have you had that experience? How does that make you feel? What do you walk away feeling like? I see people shaking their head. Like, why did I do this? Why did I put my energy into this? You have to know that they have it, and they have to demonstrate those skills to you. Okay. I'd like you to just take about a minute. This is something I want you to reflect on in your own seats silently. Okay? Please don't plan how you're going to get home tonight. Don't worry about the snow. Lunch will be here. If you have to go to the bathroom, try not to think about it. Okay? 6 people just said, I didn't know I needed to go, but I think I might now, you know? It's that elephant in the room, right? It's right over there, you know? I want you to think of anybody else in your life, a teacher, a partner, somebody that you have to work with, either on a personal or professional level, but there's not a lot of trust. Remember, rapport is in the moment. Trust is global. Trust is all the way around. Who do you have to work with that there's not a lot of trust? Think 2 things. What would have to change in the relationship, and what could you do? Don't think about, well, if she would just, if that starts the sentence, end the sentence. What would have to change? What could you do? Okay? I'm going to ask you, for a couple of you, to say general statements about what I might do to change it. So think about this answer in some way that you could respond. Take about 1 minute. "30 seconds. Okay. Thinking about somebody that we work with, there's not a lot of trust. What would need to change, and what things could you do to begin this process? Would anybody like to volunteer? You don't have to. This is purely voluntary. Please understand that. But if you'd feel comfortable sharing, is there anything that you think you could personally do in a relationship to start building trust with someone who you don't have a lot of trust with now? Okay, so let them know, maybe our relationship hasn't been perfect to this point, but what are some things you like? Maybe you can find that out in an informal setting. If it's golf, good luck. Okay, but it might be something you can find something out about. Anybody else have any ideas? What might you do? One thing that I know I had to do was I had to re-examine my own behavior. Was I making my commitments and keeping them? Was I providing follow-through? Not was the other person listening to me or honoring my needs, but was I following through? Did I have the skills that I needed? I knew I had them. Did I demonstrate them? Did that person know that I could do what I was being asked to? And did I prove it by following up? By giving a product back to that person? Always, always, always remember that trust has nothing to do with whether or not that other person can honor their commitments. That's not where it starts. So if you think about what that other person can do in a relationship that can make the trust better, it's not going to work. The first thing you have to do is start with yourself. Trust comes from inside you. Trust being so global and such a huge piece, because that really is every day, every minute. Rapport is really more of what we're going to talk about today as far as a skill that will impact your ability to coach other people, to work with other people. And these are the elements of rapport. Yeah, please. That would be good. Rapport is very much not mimicking, but making sure that you are giving back to the person what they're expressing to you. What you want to do is make sure that you are giving them back a close mirror of their posture, the way that they're sitting, the way that they're standing, gesture, any gestures that they make. Now, see, she went there already. I don't have to go there now. When one of our colleagues has an activity that she asks people to use their hands to vote and point, and she always says, please, when you're giving us back a 1, use the appropriate finger. So gestures, if they're appropriate. Breathing, if somebody's very, very, very agitated and you want to calm them, you don't start by trying to get them to calm down. You get there by increasing your breathing rate a little bit to get a little closer to theirs and then slowing yours down. We'll talk a little bit about that too. Rapport is giving them a mirror, all right? Tonality and your language, your inflection, and your pitch. If somebody is very, very, very upset, I don't want to continue the whole conversation by being really agitated right along with them, but I might want to start by saying, wow, you're really, you're really upset about this today, and I can see that this is having an impact on you, and bring it down from there. But you start by matching a little bit of what that other person is giving you so that you can get into physical rapport with them. What this does is promote a very atavistic response, a very, very deep biological inbred response on our part to react more positively to things that are similar to us. Okay? Okay. Communication, you guys, Doing what you do with children is so very, very impressive. I working with children with autism and focusing so much on what they can hear and what they can see and giving them information and knowing that I might not get it back, but at least knowing that I have ways to get it in. Working with the population that you work with most of the time, it's got to be very, very difficult because you've got one more layer of communicative interference. And it's hard enough anyway. But the people that you're communicating with on your teams, if you don't have people with visual impairments or hearing impairments on your teams, this is pretty much what you can expect. Everything in the blue is nonverbal. Everything, your posture, your gesture, your proximity, your muscle tension, your facial expression. If you're sitting in front of somebody like this, they're not listening to you anymore. They've closed in because you've closed in. You might be thinking about why they're so tense, but you're not listening to the information that they're giving you. The pitch, the volume, the inflection, and the pace all come before the words do. Remember that receiver phenomenon? Just because I said it doesn't mean you heard it. You didn't even get to my words because you were too busy reacting to everything else, and you shut my words down. You didn't hear most of them. They didn't come into you at all because you were so busy reacting to all of this and then reacting to all of the beginning of this. Now here, you guys know all this already, don't you? Many of you have had a lot of this information before. But here's the thing. If you don't think about it, you don't know it. It's sitting in a file cabinet back here somewhere that's rusted and locked, and you haven't gotten into it for so long, and you've fallen into communication patterns that have just gotten the job done, but they're not as effective as they could be. So please don't think that what we're doing today is trying to give you totally brand new information that you've never heard, that nonverbal communication is has more of an impact than verbal. We know you have, but you have to remember that you know it if you're going to use it. And how many of you begin a conversation physically thinking about your physical rapport with another person? How many of you do that? I promise you, it's an amazing, amazing return on your investment. Okay. What I'd like you to do, you're probably sitting in your teams, aren't you? Okay. If you're sitting in your teams, what I'd like you to do is stand up, lock eyes with somebody that you don't know, that you did not come with, all right? Please stand up, go sit next to that person, and then talk to them. We're going to give you 3 minutes. I'll give you a time. And you're going to talk to them about what coaching is. Think about the elements of rapport. Okay, we're talking about your breathing, the tonality of your voice, the way your words are. You're talking about your gestures, your facial expressions, the way that your body posture is. All of those elements of rapport, and those are in your handouts, so you've got that in front of you as a reference. Think about all of those things. Okay? Talk to them a little bit about coaching as you've experienced it, what it means to you. Practice any one of those elements, then give them 3 minutes to explain, and then what did you notice? Then take the final 3 minutes and pair share with each other what you've noticed about rapport, okay? Stand up, lock eyes with someone you don't know, please move to them. I will cue you in 3 minutes to reverse roles. I'm good.
How late we started. I think you can go ahead.
Oh, I'm good.
And get through a little bit more before break time.
Oh, I'll be able to. No, 10:45. We've done it before, and so this is just old hat. This is a cool way to communicate. 3 minutes, please. I'll give you a 1 minute warning. Take 3 minutes. What did you notice about the exercise? Make sure you both have a chance to talk. Go ahead. And I'd like to ask you a few questions about the activity that you just completed. Now, there's a purpose in asking you to do it with people that you don't know. People that you know, it's just going to be way too much fun. Okay? You're not going to get anything done. I know us. I know us as learners and adult learners. Would anybody like to volunteer a little information? What did you notice about purposefully thinking about rapport? Anybody have any observations about this?
My back hurts. My back often hurts. And I don't usually think about it because I just find my comfortable spot and then I go and I'm okay. And I was noticing when we were talking that I was trying to be more aware of my posture. And I didn't want to sit and have my back hurt, but I felt like if I have to stay in this position, I will for now.
The drill sergeant up there said I had to. Yeah. I cannot be accused of anything that could result in a workman's comp claim. I just want to make that very clear right now. Just the state board said I could come and play today, but they said I wasn't responsible, which is a really good thing in my case, because I'm often not terribly responsible. Is rapport really comfortable when you don't do it routinely? No?
We noticed it was kind of easy to like mimic each other, or we felt like peers kind of, so, and we have similar experiences, similar classrooms, things like that, so discussing things, and it was easy to kind of mimic each other, but we noted when we started talking just about rapport in general that it's not as easy at work when you're dealing with someone who's not a co-teacher or you're frustrated about something. It's not, in a more serious setting, I guess, it's a little bit more difficult.
You made a beautiful point. When you're a little bit stressed, it's very hard to do. This is a great communicative strategy. It opens up all sorts of things because what it truly does is lower the level of physiological stress our brain experiences. If we can reduce that stress, we can reduce the amount of cortisol that we're pumping out, we can make ourselves feel better, and we can learn more. If we're very stressed, our brains are busy flooding us with all these chemicals that inhibit short-term learning, obviously negating long-term learning. Rapport really puts us in a physiological state of being able to calm down, intake the information, impart information, and do a better job at it. But it's not easy. It's absolutely not easy. What I have found is this, with teenagers, is hysterically fun to do. Okay? And it's great. And I practice on my own children. God love them, they're guinea pigs and they can't get away. And the ones that are still tax deductions, it's all, this is their problem. I can do what I want with them. They're mine. So I practice on them and I make them practice with me. And it's interesting too, because as they've gotten older, they go use this with their friends and they're like, Mom, it made all the difference in the world. We stopped an argument because we set aside some, and my youngest son, who's a little bit on the Asperger's scale, like this much, said to me, reflective listening, it's such an efficient procedure, isn't it, Mother? Yes, dear. Very efficient, yes. I noticed several results. Would you like to discuss? Yes, dear. Let's discuss them. He's 23 now, bless his heart. And I will let that one live. I will probably, he's the one that's skiing in Colorado today. He's at least having fun with snow, so somebody should be having fun. Thank you very much for taking the time to do that. It's a small activity, but it gives you a taste. It gives you a little taste of it. This is something that you want to know, you want to practice, you want to put into practice. Not just know how to do it. Put it into your practice because it's something that's going to make your team communications and your coaching experiences tremendously effective. And it's a very small thing. We're not going to ask you to leave here and do 50 things by next Tuesday that are going to have to move mountains. This is a small thing that's going to make a big change. Okay. When we talk about coaches, we have this image in our head of what a coach is. Whether it's a coach that's, if we have a lot of people on our teams that maybe are coaches of athletic departments within our school. And so that's a way different kind of coach than some of us are used to dealing with. We've kind of said coaching's the new big thing. And unfortunately in education, we kind of have a history of having buzzwords that go around, and this is really wildly, the word paradigm used to make me just kind of hurt. She's nodding her head. It's like, oh man. I'm like, well, I experienced a paradigm shift, and like, I'm really sorry. Will medication help? Maybe I could help you talk through that, because it got to be such a buzzword that it began to not mean anything. And coaching sometimes takes on that aspect as well, where I'm going to run and coach. But if you don't know what coaching really is in this situation, you may not be coaching, okay? What I'm going to ask you to do is to, Jane? Please, Think about these types of coaches in your buildings. You've got some of you may have literacy coaches, instructional coaches, leadership coaches, cognitive coaches, data coaches. I feel sorry personally for these people. And maybe there are some of you data people. How many data people are out here? Bless your hearts. Extra chocolate for you. Okay, extra chocolate for you. Yummy desserts. I bless their hearts. I don't know how they do it because I'm allergic. I don't want to go near it, and she makes me. But Ruth is our project coordinator, so I can honestly point to her and say she makes me. Okay. Okay. Ruth?
Still talking data over here.
See, there are people who just ate right again, and some of those data people are the same way. At your tables, you're going to see some 3x5 index cards. I'm going to ask you to, when you thought you were going to be, and this may not be completely applicable to you, so we'll talk about modifying this a little bit. How many of you have been said you're going to be in a coaching role? Have you been told that? A couple of people. Okay, here we go.
Everyone here should be raising their hand. They're in denial, I've been.
You know, honestly, I'm so sorry. They were all doing this. You just couldn't see it, okay? I'm getting you all out of trouble, all right? They were all doing this up here. When you think about being on a team in a coaching role or going into a school as a coach, I want you to think about this, and on this 3x5 index card, write down your assumptions, all right? What role did you assume that meant? What do you think a coach does? When do you think they do it? How do you think they do it? What is it? Why do they do it? Do you have to like it to do it? Okay? Some of these questions, if you've been thinking about this, have been going through your head. How will I know if I'm doing it right if I don't know what it is? That's kind of an important, what will I know if I lose it? How will I know to find it? You got to know what it is before you know what to do with it. I want you to take a couple of minutes, write down those assumptions on 3x5s. We are going to share these back, okay? I won't pick on everybody, and I promise if you're really uncomfortable reporting back, I won't make you. But I'm going to ask you to please write these down and be willing to respond. Take a couple of minutes and do this for me.
Everybody has cards at their table towards the center of the table, so you're not seeing them. They're all there somewhere.
When you have two people setting up the tables, we very seldom know what the other one's doing, so thank you very much for telling me the right hand, left hand thing. Okay, now that we've all had a little gentle reminder that every one of you raised your hands, okay? Every one of you did. I saw you do it, I promise. You thought you were going to be a coach. You kind of thought you were going to be a coach. You thought that was a distinct possibility. What did that mean? What role did you think you were going to be in? What did you think it was going to be like? Why don't some of you tell me back what you've written down on your cards?
I was just going to say assisting other teachers or other staff members with their most difficult problems. You know,
Okay.
be it behavior problems or whatever, but helping them with those issues.
So a resource. I'm going to help you with this. If you've got a specific issue, I'm going to help you find some answers to that issue. That's what one of your perceptions was, or is right now. Who's got something else for me?
Just allowing them to vent so that they can kind of get it all out, and then helping them, I don't know, kind of figure out what's bothering them the most or what they would like help working on, and then helping to give some solutions or talk about ways that they can start to work on it with the student.
So you're thinking that in your role as a coach, you might be a place for somebody to come, let off a little steam, vent some information, and you also in your role as a coach might be someone who helps them define what the problem really is and then decide which pieces of it they want to work on. From there, help them decide how they're going to work on it. Is that okay? Okay. Somebody else. Okay.
Maybe taking the skills that you have and the knowledge that you've gotten from attending these meetings and
Bless her heart.
and
I paid her to say that.
and model some of the skills that you've learned so that you're you're not taking over a class, but modeling what you've learned so that others can learn from your experiences. So be a model.
So maybe taking the skills that you have, seeking out opportunities to get more through trainings, and then taking those skills, giving them away. However you're doing that. In this case, you're thinking about you might go into a classroom and model some of that, but it's giving that skill away.
Not telling, but showing.
Okay, okay.
Well, in the beginning, I have to say, I was afraid that it was all going to fall to me. So I was like, you know, I was going to be responsible for the FBA, the VIP, to fix the kid. And I'm thinking, when in my day do I have time to do that? So I was very afraid of it.
You had some concerns that the word coach meant responsibility really specific to situations, not maybe just to a team functioning. Good concern. Okay, sir.
Maintaining a positive morale, especially during really difficult times, we get difficult cases, kind of modeling, we'll get through this, we're a part of the team, I'm here to help everybody go back.
You're thinking that being a coach might actually be, at least from what part of your assumptions were, be really that emotional part. I'm going to help you maintain some sense of balance. If you're upset about something, I'm going to find ways to prop you up and sort of be that cheerleader for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have, yeah.
Work with individuals to identify strategies and options.
Thinking not so much perhaps as a team, but thinking about working individual to identify what they need to make sure that they can accomplish their job.
With an individual or with a team, so that the team is brainstorming options and looking at the different options for strategies and then honing in on making a decision.
Okay, so to clarify, what you were really saying is those might be the strategies that you want to use as a coach, but you feel you can use those with individuals or a full team. Okay. Those are great things. Those are great assumptions about what a coach does. Coaches cover the map in what they do. This training is based very heavily in what Project Choices uses, because really in our functioning, we go in and work with school teams to assist them, including children with disabilities in general education, and providing better outcomes for all students by looking at the tiers of support, the universal, the secondary, the tertiary tiers of support. We go in, become part of that team, provide the trainings at each one of those levels within a district with the overriding goal of how do we include kids? How do we improve our LRE data? How do we improve our test scores, etc.? We've got to be pretty good coaches. We better help them with their emotional status. We better be there for them to come vent because they've got some pretty big challenges in front of them. We better be able to help them look at things in new ways because it's not necessarily business as usual across Illinois the way that we have been given the charge by the state to do. Those are great assumptions. Thank you very much. We're going to click through some of this other information pretty quickly, and we're going to make sure that in about 10 or 12 minutes we get you out of here for a break. Educational leaders started thinking after NCLB, and I'm sorry to use the bad initials. I know some people break out in hives and things, but you know, there's coffee, there's good stuff. Try not to think about the initials. Leaders started to say, okay, we haven't gotten to where we wanted to get, and it's 2002. How long is it going to take us to get there? So if we're doing it the way we've always done it, that hasn't gotten us to where we wanted to go. Okay, one of the biggest things that came out was the concept of coaching. Okay. And within the framework of coaching, we started looking at some of the research. The research has been out there actually quite some time, but these are some of the things that it says. Go ahead and put all that up for me if you wouldn't mind. If you look at student achievement through the lens of staff development, and what is student achievement represented by? It's represented by attendance, it's represented by test scores, it's represented by reduction of maladaptive behaviors, it's represented by a plethora of things that come together to represent achievement. It's not just about the test scores, or at least we certainly hope it's not. But we think about the training outcomes, the number of participants who demonstrate knowledge and skills, use new skills in the classroom. If they get presentation, lecture, and discussion, God help me, like today, 10% of them might have knowledge, 5% might use it, but maybe, you know, how many do you think are implementing it in the classroom? What do you think? Just throw out a number. 1%. Yeah. Are we there? 0%. That's if there's nothing but lecture. Okay? Lecture, I might talk to you about it a little bit, but I don't have you practicing anything. Now, if we demonstrate it, we model it, 30% are going to have knowledge, 20% are going to have the skill implementation. How many are going to use it in the classroom? Now, this is a demonstration of modeling. Okay? How many are going to use it? 5%. 0%. Okay, well, we didn't get there yet, so we're going to add practice and feedback and training, and you're going to talk to me about what you're doing, and you're going to do it 6 or 7 times, and 60% of you are going to have knowledge of that, and 60% of you are going to have the ability to do that, and you can do it back. And how many of you are going to take it back and use it?
You're getting skeptical now, aren't you?
5%. Okay. I have moved, now this is where I need the circle. Please bring me a brownie. I'm starting to feel pretty bad about myself, okay? Now, I give you a coach to work with you. And I have a coach come into your classroom and coach you. Not train you, teach you, consult with you, coach you. 95% of the percent of participants who demonstrate knowledge and skills and then use those new skills, 95% have knowledge of the content. 95% implement those skills. They know how to do it. How many are in the classroom? What do you think? 95%? 50%? 95%. Research since 2002 has been out there that says if we provide coaching, ongoing opportunities for coaching, not one-shot wonder, go back in, work on it, team through it, 95% increase in classroom application. Okay. We'll just go through these real quickly. Teachers, we know that teachers want support. Coaching in the vernacular that we're using, in the language that we're using, is based very heavily on the concept of cognitive coaching. Have any of you taken cognitive coaching training or been exposed to that? I strongly encourage you to go online, look up the concept, read about it, think about it. It is not a buzzword. It is not something that's going to go away. This has been implemented hugely in the business sector for years and years and years. And this is tremendously valuable, really imperative work, because it really does change everything about how you can function as an organization, as a team, as a school team. Educational innovations don't really work without coaching. They become that one-shot wonder, and you get stacks of really good stuff that was really good stuff from workshops, but you don't use it. If you're going to be an effective team member, you got to have coaching, and that doesn't surprise any of us, right? But it is not the typical type of coaching. It develops positive interpersonal relationships that are sources of energy for school cultures that are truly adaptive, not adapted, adaptive. If you've already adapted, all you have left to do is die. Truly, okay? If you've adapted, you've changed as much as you can. You have to maintain a constantly adaptive structure and build a structure that allows for that flex. Okay. The components of a coaching model are, go ahead and put all those up, that'll be fine.
It disappeared.
Well, it certainly does.
I have to tell you guys, we stole some of these slides from other presentations.
Excuse me, I must. That is called, in the educational world, appropriation of resources. Okay? I'm just mentioning that.
We stole them from other presentations. When people put in movement, I hate movement on a slide. Sorry. And I don't deal with it very well.
Not that she doesn't ever get frustrated. I've worked with her forever, and she never gets ticked or anything. Look in your packets. If we cannot get all of these to stay up on the.
We'll do them one at a time.
Okay. Coaches are skilled at constructing and posing questions. Questioning is not a simple skill. Okay. Boy, that's really distracting, though, isn't it, to have it go away? Fortunately, you have if this is distracting to you, if you're one of the people that really the visual distraction is a problem for you, please don't look at the screen seriously. Just pay attention to what's in your handout. Non-judgmental response behavior. Go ahead. Yeah, click through these. They value self-directed learning. They set aside, and we're going to talk about this, unproductive patterns of listening, responding, and inquiring. They use nonverbal behaviors to establish and maintain rapport during coaching situations. Coaching versus consulting. No, it's okay, we're good. Coaching versus consulting. A coach is going to question you and get more information from you to help find out what you really know and to help you find out what you know. A consultant's going to tell, okay? A coach is going to listen. The consultant is going to give advice. The coach is going to paraphrase. Did you notice that when you said things to me and you reported back, I tried to give them back to you in different words, and at least once I didn't get it right. And she gave me back information. I said, so what you really meant was to make sure I got, because I had it wrong the first time. Had I been asked to give her information back to somebody, I would have given it wrong. So I had to paraphrase it to make sure I understood it. A consultant's going to suggest. There has to be an equal relationship. A consultant is the expert. And that's a really hard shift to make. The difference in a nutshell, this is what the true difference is. A consultant is going to explain to you why one bicycle is superior to another, teach you how to ride the bicycle, and if necessary, I will ride it for you. I will come to your school, ride that bike, and it will be a lovely bicycle indeed. Okay, I'll put an extra seat on it. I'll ride in front, thank you. Because I'm the expert. I know how to do this. Ask me. And you're paying me to know. Oftentimes, the expert relationship is established because you're paying me to know. And if you're paying me to know, I feel an obligation to come in with the answers because you're paying me for them. Okay? The coach is going to help you understand how you ride a bicycle, why you ride the bicycle, help you figure out what's holding you back from riding properly and why you keep falling off, and I'll run along beside you while you ride. I might push the bike up once in a while, keep you from falling over, but I don't need another seat, and I don't have to tell you all about the bike. I'm going to help you find out about it on your own, because then it's really your bicycle you're riding. Okay, in a nutshell, that's what it is. Okay. There is a handout that you would have been able to pick up at that front table. Looks like this. Back and front says coaches and consultants on both sides. It is not the same. There are 4, I'm checking. Did you see me check that? Just because. I have had so many experiences with holding up something and finding out that I copied something that the world in general really didn't need. So I'm careful about that. Before you break, we're just going to take about 5 minutes to do this, and then we're going to go ahead and give you a break because I've kept you a little longer than I meant to do this. I want you to take that handout, partner with someone just sitting right next to you. Read the handouts on coaching and go ahead and read one. Okay, yeah, just do the first 5, okay? And then after you've read a panel, each of you say something, just a sentence, about the content, just a response. A very, very quick, make this a very quick activity. And then continue until you have done all 4 panels, okay? And then together, just think up one sentence that tells you what you learned. Okay? I want you to take about 2, to do one side, or?
Find somebody to sit down.
No, I'm going to let them do it at their table.
Okay.
This is adapting on the spot, which is also necessary. Right. Let's just take 1 minute for each panel, for each person, all right, to read the first 5. Read the first 5, say something about it. The second person, read the first 5, say something about it to your partner, move on to the second panel. Do you understand what I'm asking you to do? Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because if you don't, you need to tell me. You're sitting next to a person that you've identified as your partner. You know what, Ruth? That's why we didn't do these in groups of 5. It's just the whole panel. Each of you just read in your pairs. The first person, read the first panel. Say something about it to your partner. The second person, read the first panel. Say something about it back to you. So you're both reading the same material and giving each other one sentence. Then move on to the second panel and do the same thing until you have done all 4 panels. Okay? Just take a couple of minutes, do this really quickly. Standing and physically it's not an issue. When you've completed this activity, the team please stand. That way I'll have a sense of where we're at in the room. Oh, the overachiever group, here they go. Okay, I think we have most of the room done. If I can have your attention up here, please. Instead of making you report back, since you've had a chance to talk to each other a little bit, and I want to get you guys out of here to have a break, I apologize, I've not respected that time very well. But I'm going to just ask a couple of quick questions, and then I'm going to get you out of here and let you go on a break. Yes or no? Was this exactly what you thought it was going to be when you read those panels? Is that what you thought coaching was? No. Bunch of head shaking. How many of you, by show of hands, had this, whoa, wait a minute, I have to think differently about this. This is not what I have been doing? Couple. How many of you would say that you have been functioning in a consultant mode? Sometimes? Okay. Do you see the types of changes in communication and behavior that would have to happen to help you move into that coaching pattern, into that shift? Okay, we're going to get you guys out of here, give you a 15-minute break. Kind of think about it. Find somebody to talk to and just kind of reflect a little bit on this activity. When you come back, we'll start with some strategies, okay? Enjoy your break.
Computer envy. We've talked a lot about coaching this morning, and we're going to continue on that vein. But I want to be real clear with you that coaching is not like coaching good, consulting bad. Consulting has its place. I think what we're trying to make a point on is that consulting has potentially been overused, and that an expert model has its weaknesses. So there are certainly times when it's appropriate to break rapport with someone who you're trying to coach and say, I would really like to make some specific suggestions to you, and move into your consulting mode. But what we want is to have those skills of coaching and be able to be intentional so that we're choosing when we coach. Go ahead and click that first one. We're choosing when we coach and when we come out of the coaching and use another personality. So again, an important skill of a coach is to be able to be intentional, to understand the situation that you're in, to understand the communication types that you're using, and to know what the congruent behaviors are. To set aside unproductive patterns, to move intentionally between those things, and to use some norms of collaboration to facilitate the thinking of another. What coaching is about is facilitating the thinking of another. We showed you a slide that had various kinds of coachings, and it said literacy coach and math coach and science coach. Those are coaches that are coaching regarding a specific content. The kind of coaching that we're talking about is might be seen as the process of coaching that is foundational to any other kind of coaching and has that goal in it, not of me being the expert and sharing my pearls of wisdom with you, but me having the skills to intentionally understand how I am mediating your thinking, taking your thinking to a higher level of thinking and problem solving. A lot of what you're doing today as we do little activities is what we would call giving you an opportunity to reflect on some information. And reflection is a really important foundational skill related to coaching and related to other ways in which we learn new information and take it to practice. So we've looked at that data from Joyce and Showers about how much people retain and how they can get it back to their work environment and use it. And what we know is that when you come and you see me standing up here and you go back, your ability to take this information and actually put it into practice is very, very low, because this is a one-shot deal. It pulls you out of the environment